Welcome to this week's episode of Tell Me More. We're kicking off Advent at First Baptist Arlington. We have a great discussion about all things Advent and also what it means for the long-expected Jesus to come. And it's a great conversation, and we're glad you're listening.
Okay, welcome to Tell Me More. I'm back in the studio.
Welcome back.
It's good to be back.
We missed you last week.
I was here.
We gave you
I just yielded.
We gave you the boot.
I yielded my seat.
We gave you the boot.
Yeah.
Or you yielded it.
One of those.
No,
we'll let
did.
the listener decide.
You did. You did. We did not have to.
We're glad you're back.
Yeah.
It's good to be back, and it's good to yield to someone like Cindy.
Yeah.
It was a fun episode with Cindy.
It was good.
She did a great job. She was nervous about it. She's like,
Almost
I'm not
got-
good in those
almost
moments.
got too much information, though, don't you think?
She was pretty comfortable sharing.
We kind of bordered on.
She was pretty comfortable. If you
Draw
haven't,
a line.
if you haven't listened, I would recommend you go back, particularly the middle.
If you drew a line, would she just cross it?
The middle of the sandwich.
What do you think?
I think no. I think Cindy is a strong, independent woman.
May Lord help me.
Yes,
man.
and I think the Lord has helped you
Yes,
via
he
Cindy
really
Wiles.
Okay, gosh.
Listen, so
Our spouses are a gift from the
Oh.
Lord to spur us on to holiness.
That is right. That is right.
three
Amen.
cheers.
Amen.
3 cheers for good spouses.
Amen.
If you've
Yes.
got a good spouse, go ahead and tell them today.
That's right. Yeah.
Ryan Hodges, thanks for holding it down in our home.
Yeah. And
Being a good
Kelsey
partner.
was on the platform
She
yesterday.
was. She did very well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
Right. No. Pretty. Yeah.
She can do it.
The bar's pretty high
Yeah.
for
So-
Kelsey's there.
She can do it.
It was all good.
love it.
And Advent started. What a great day. And engagement month ended.
I know.
It
Let's talk
ended.
about engagement month before we hop into
Yeah.
it,
Oh,
because
man. It was
there's
a
lots
good
to talk
month.
about in both. So I think we had a great engagement month.
Yeah, really happy with how everything turned out. If you didn't pick up a copy of the magazine, we still have a few copies in a box
so good.
somewhere.
It's so good.
Thank you.
It's really more of a. It's almost like a reference manual
It's
than
dense.
just a promotional magazine. You know,
There's some promotional stuff in there, but there's
Yes.
a lot of information. It's not something we expect you to sit down and read
Right.
all in one sitting.
Yeah.
But it does have really good content.
Yeah.
We would like you to sit down and read it.
yeah,
Yeah.
It's long,
But maybe not all in one sitting.
Information.
It
I
is.
think. You know,
It is. And it was designed to be that way, something that you could kind of keep coming back to understand, when we talk about Ascent or BWA and the people involved in those things and just the connections we make missionally when we go and participate in those places.
Yeah.
You'll begin to see those things unfold and hear names as we kind of talk about them. But really happy with it, just across the board. I love Advent, but I'm always sad to see engagement month come down. It just makes the church looks empty to me after all the flags get put away. And
Yeah.
I loved seeing people write prayers on those post-its.
at least you replace it though with all the decorations.
Yeah,
for it.
January is really bleak.
Yeah, it goes
Right.
without
Yeah.
saying.
If you went from
Goes through
yep.
2
We get a
months
stair
worth of
step.
decorations.
We get a stair step.
Yes. And the Advent decorations are fantastic.
They are
So
beautiful.
that's not a knock on those
Thanks
at all.
everybody for helping with all that. That was a big.
It was a
group,
good
that's
event.
a big group
Good time.
project.
Yeah, but it was a really good. I think it was a great month for engagement.
I do too.
It was holistic, and
How'd you feel about Sunday school curriculum? You think it went over well?
I think it went well. I was never able to make it to any classes, but I've heard just good things.
Of course, the young adult breakfast had it. So
Yeah, the
in
young
that
adult
way we
breakfast
were-
had a little
yeah.
bit. We ended the young adult breakfast packing first response hygiene kits for Texans on Mission that will
great.
wind up in Jamaica as they continue to respond to the hurricane there.
Which I think is awesome.
So good.
That it's
Yeah.
connected to what we're doing.
It
You know,
is.
it's not-
exactly really
Service
good.
projects in themselves are good, but to do it connected to an organization that we're trying to have a
Yeah.
deeper relationship with,
We
really
love
cool.
Texans on Mission.
We do. And I'm so glad we're doing more and more with them. So
I love it. So, live sent.
Live sent.
Be engaged all year round. This
Yeah.
is
Really
the goal.
good.
Love your neighbors.
And then
the basics.
Then we shifted gears.
To Advent.
Yeah, then
and
we
there's
all went away,
so
ate a lot
much
of turkey,
happening.
showed back up, the church was
Did
decorated.
y'all have a great Thanksgiving?
I had a great Thanksgiving.
Oh, let's talk
Did you
about
cook
it.
a turkey?
Let's talk
I
about
did cook a
another
turkey. I
turkey.
cooked everything.
How did you do the turkey?
I brine my turkey in buttermilk and salt, and then I set it out in the fridge. So brines for 2 days and then I pull it out of it the night before I roast it,
Dry
just
it
so
up.
the skin can dry, so you get a good crisp
So
skin.
you let it dry, yeah.
I let it dry, and then in my roasting pan, I put apples, celery, onions, garlic, bay leaves, herbs, the whole cinnamon sticks.
And then you roast it in the oven.
and then I roast it in the oven.
Luke made a turkey for our staff Friendsgiving.
I can make a turkey.
And I texted him the next day because I thought I might bake a turkey. Like I considered baking a turkey. And I said, Luke, I think I might have to bake the Thanksgiving turkey. Do you have a recipe? Because it was a really good turkey that I ate that you made the day before. Luke sends me no less than 8 paragraphs on how to deal with this turkey. Oh my gosh. It started with, buy a bunch of buttermilk, put it in a bag, a tub. I don't even know.
A bag, 2 gallon Ziploc bag will hold the average turkey.
Oh, really? That's good to know. Yeah. I mean, obviously I didn't get that far. Spoiler alert. So paragraphs and paragraphs.
I responded when she was like, I can't do that.
And I said, no turkey is worth that much effort.
And I said, turkey is worky.
Turkey is worky.
Yeah.
And so I ended up texting my family. It was a small gathering that I hosted. I went to several Thanksgivings that were all delicious. But so I hosted a smaller one with just my dad's, my uncle, my aunt and uncle, my mom and dad, and me and Ryan, and the kids. And my uncle the next day said, I make a mean meatloaf. And I said, bring it. That's great. What do you need from me? And so my uncle, it was a really good meatloaf.
Love it.
An extremely good meatloaf. But I didn't have to use my new knowledge about just.
But now you know how to roast a turkey.
I mean, I guess that's good to know. We've tried smoking a turkey before, but
I have a picture of mine. I smoked one.
Oh, do you want to show the camera?
Yeah. No, I don't know that it would work. I don't think you can see it. But anyway.
For those listening at home, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I'm not great at smoking.
We dried it out the one time we did it.
Thing.
I think we'd spatchcock it next time if we smoked a turkey.
Spatchcocking, by the way, is where you cut out the backbone and break the chest bone.
You kind of make it flat. You flatten that turkey.
It's the way to do it.
Yeah. And which is what Josiah came over and he did that. He
flattened
put
it out.
it in the brine. And then he came and he did that. He cut the backbone out and flattened it out and makes it easier to smoke it.
I think it cooks more evenly too.
It does.
Yeah. It's better. So we did it several years ago. We tried to smoke the turkey when we were before the kids, and we used the smoker more back when we had lives outside of keeping 3 toddlers alive.
Do not try to spatchcock a frozen turkey.
I don't know how you would.
You have to dry it out.
Yeah,
you have to
need to make sure
it
it's
out.
thawed. If you have any freeze in there,
it's hard to do.
You're gonna cut yourself.
How would you? Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
We had a great Thanksgiving. We had 4 family gatherings.
that's a lot. We had one.
I saw everybody I was related to twice.
Yeah.
We did it.
Yeah.
But it
That's
was
so
good.
fun though.
Yeah, it was. It's actually, for having that many family interactions.
And wasn't there a birthday party in there?
Yeah, that was one of the gatherings. We hosted the boys' 3rd birthday at our house.
Sweet.
Speaking of Thanksgiving.
There were no children there, really. It was one other child. All the adults that loved them came by. Most of the adults that loved them, I should say. And it was.
There are a lot of people that love those boys.
It was a pretty full house, about 25 people maybe. In our house, it feels pretty full. It was sweet. And it was like everybody that walked up, they were like, it was like Peggy Coolidge. It's like, they call her Peeps because that's her grandma name. They're like, Peeps is here. And I'm like, yeah. And then, it'd be my parents and they'd be like, Grandma and Grandpa are here. Yeah. And they're like, well, Christy and Bob are here. I mean, just everybody that they love. They just kept being like, everyone's here at once. And I'm like, and I tried to explain, you're going to have a party. Who do you want to come? But
so fun.
Yeah. Bouquet and Sherry, they're here. And I'm like, they're all here for you. And it was kind of this little mind blowing moment. And you get to eat cake and do whatever you want. And they
What
have
a
a great
day.
time.
That's fun.
Yeah. So we officially have 3 3-year-olds. Can we just take a second for that?
Well, those birthday parties are going to even be more fun in the days ahead.
They are.
For
Oh my
them.
gosh. My Aunt Edie, who's part of our church, her neighbor has teen kids, and they outgrew a bounce house. They had bought their kids a bounce house 10 years ago for like fun. And she was like, do y'all want it? Yes. So Edie took it on our behalf. We brought it over for their birthday party. So they wake up from nap that day, and there's a bounce house in the driveway. Our driveway comes around back, kind of like your house, Luke.
Yeah.
And we had it run up, and they were like, do we get to go jump on it? And I was like, you sure do. That didn't tell them we own this now. They don't need to know that. It's going to go live at Edie's. But, I mean, if you're a 3-year-old and you wake up and there's just an inflated bounce house in your backyard,
Awesome.
I think we've peaked, right? I think that's the best day of their life.
They're living.
And then they got to eat as much pizza as they wanted and cake for dinner.
Yeah.
What a day.
And who won the wrestling match, Ryan or the 3 boys?
We almost forgot the wrestling match. We actually did it the day after their real birthday.
Oh, yes.
And they were so tired. It's a terrible video because they're just like this limp, like I'm tired on the couch, and Ryan basically picks each one of them up off the couch, puts them on the ground, does a 3-second tap, puts them back on the couch. I have the video.
Ryan won.
So yeah, again, those are gonna. I've told y'all though, right? I've said that in here.
Yeah.
Whenever we think that the next year might be the one where they beat them, we're going to rent out like the Arlington High wrestling
will come.
match or something.
The day will come.
And you can all be invited. But we're going to charge. We did talk about this because we're going to put a QR code up for the college fund or something. That's your price of entry if you come in. So anyway.
I love it.
Yes.
Oh, man.
So,
Well,
okay, enough about that.
And here we are.
Engagement month was great.
And then that leads to Advent.
My kids had a birthday.
Advent's here.
Now,
Jesus is coming.
Amen. Amen.
what a great start yesterday.
Oh, my
if
gosh.
that's indicative of the Advent season.
Love it.
It was full, but it was meaningful. I mean, this has nothing particular. Well, it has everything to do with Jesus coming, but also nothing to do with particularly with Advent. 2 beautiful baptisms yesterday. I mean, we're really doing some things. It's really wonderful.
It was a sweet day.
And whatever
It really
service
was.
you go to, I would encourage you to just go and watch the other one because the music in
Right.
both
So
services is so phenomenal, even if it's not your style of choice.
It really is. It's powerful.
Just good things are happening. So watch your opposite service.
Yes.
Yeah, engage with it. Because, again, it's not all about preference. Just go be
It's
with
so
the other
good.
half
And
of
for
your
our
church.
younger
Yeah.
parents, the children of our church, the global kids that this little
Yeah.
booklet that's handed out every Sunday morning, it's just really, really good. And I'm so grateful.
I'm a
that we're
fan.
doing
Thanks,
this.
engagement
it's just
team.
so good. And
It is.
Yeah, and it's connecting what we're learning in quote unquote big church, as our little ones call it.
Yeah.
And how to help shape these children.
And giving them a sense of the world.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
this
really-
is about
Yeah.
Christmas around the world.
It is.
And your kid
really
can
good.
scribble on that instead
And
of
learn.
mindlessly scribbling on something else. So,
and
really
learn.
cool.
It's really, really good. And
We have a good team.
yeah. And then
All
there's-
around.
there are just so many things happening during the. I mean, this podcast is actually brought to you by
let's
First
do
Baptist
it.
Arlington.
So, coming up
There's
next.
some things you don't want to miss.
That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. Go,
This
go.
Saturday,
This Saturday, the
Is-
6th.
yes,
Yes.
is Christmas Adventure.
What's that?
It is an event for families and kids. If you have grandkids, bring them. You can pre-register to win door prizes.
Whoa.
Also, how we kind of get an idea of how many people showed up.
Oh, a little peek behind the curtain.
So go ahead and pre-register if you're a church member, or even if you're not and you're out there listening. But we'd love for you to come.
Bring your kids, bring your neighbors, bring your
Yeah,
grandkids.
invite people. It's such a good event.
It is. Yeah, that's good.
Our preschool and children's and young families team put so much work into just making it an awesome time. And we'll have hundreds and hundreds of people on our campus Saturday afternoon.
3 to 5?
3 to
It's a
5,
3 to
I
5
think.
event. I think that's right because we're looking it up. It's really fun. Our kids are just now, I mean, each year they can experience more of it because they're so little, but there's last year, I'm just go back to last year, little snowball fights for the littler kids. There's pony rides, there's crafts,
Donkey rides.
there's the Christmas story so you can experience.
Pastor's time.
Yeah. It's just really sweet.
It is sweet.
So,
So that's Saturday. Then
well, then it's pretty much Christmas. Oh, just kidding.
Not quite.
December the 7th.
Obviously,
It's just first
obviously,
Sunday.
every Sunday morning is going to be a banger. So don't miss
right.
the Sunday morning
It's gonna be
experience.
good.
But the next Sunday, the 14th,
yes, is
is our Christmas worship program.
The King,
The King.
a family Christmas musical.
That's
I think
right.
is its title.
Great.
That's at 5 p.m.
Yes.
on Sunday the 14th. You don't want to miss it.
No, it's our Christmas program.
I've heard them rehearsing. You don't want to miss it.
It's going to be awesome. It's beautiful.
Yeah, we overheard them last night.
It's
yesterday
beautiful.
during church. It's going to be great, and it's obviously family friendly. It's in the title, so come be a part of it. Don't miss it. We're excited for that, and it's at 5. It's at 5 for a lot of reasons, but one is you can invite somebody and easily go to dinner afterward,
Yes.
like that kind of. It's at 5, like it's not too late in the
Right.
day. I think for young families, obviously, we're after nap time, which I appreciate, and you can come be a part of it and still get to bed on time, or we're trying to be thoughtful in our planning of that, and so. Just come. Pack the sanctuary. It'll be super great. We'd love that.
Yeah, and then TMS, the
Yes.
Master Singers, has a
They have their Christmas program. They're working on it today. They're working really
it.
hard on that.
And when is that,
That's
if we wanted to go
that's the
watch?
next Wednesday night, the 17th.
Perfect. Wednesday the 17th at
6?
6 o'clock.
Isn't that right, Dr. Wells?
Perfect.
Dr. Wells, you usually participate in that.
do.
You're usually
Yep.
kind of a narrator or have a word.
Speaker, yep.
Yes. So
Be at
let's,
6 o'clock.
let's
Wednesday
be
night.
there to support that. So
really
those would be
good.
the biggest blocks of our Advent season. And then, of course, Christmas Eve, which is maybe the big block.
Right.
What time are our Christmas Eve services?
I have to work backward to get this right. So last year we realized, we're always growing, always learning. The last year we realized that we were a little bit insensitive. I mean, I think we can say that. We did not consider those that work Christmas Eve and get off at 5, say. And we left them out. I mean, we didn't mean to. It was just, it's an oversight, but we learned. And so this year we're having one at 6. So that's our latest one. And then we'll have a 4:30 and a 3.
That's correct.
Does that feel right?
That
It's
feels
easier
right.
for me to work backward from that.
And not only that, this year we're going back to real candles.
Whoa. You heard it
So,
here.
yeah.
We are.
It's going to be lit.
That's
Yes.
right.
So if you were here, ayo, don't miss it. Don't miss it.
Just straight fire.
We will actually have
Go
little
on. Can you
electric,
get another one in
little
there?
battery
No,
powered
yeah.
candles
Feel the
for
burn?
the little
No.
kids if they want.
Oh, yes.
Don't feel the burn.
Have
I think
those.
that's important, Dr. Wiles.
We do have those for the little ones,
The little ones, the battery operated,
Yeah.
is still
They're
available.
pretty cool.
If you're afraid of the fire.
but we will have real candles
We
this
will.
year. Yeah,
and
got
that'll be
little-
really sweet. I've never been to a Christmas Eve at First Baptist Arlington.
Is that right?
I've never been.
And are you going to continue
Wow.
your streak this year?
No. There's a church vote on Sunday. And if that passes, then I will have a new title, and I feel like with a new level of responsibility, I probably ought to start showing up to Christmas Eve at First
That's
Baptist Arlington.
possible.
And I want to. That's part of it.
Oh, it's so
But
fun.
y'all know, I mean, I've always wanted to, but there's a lot of family commitments on Christmas Eve, particularly my husband's family. That Christmas Eve is their Christmas. And so it's just there's always a lot to consider. And so this year we just told the family, hey, it's time. We're going to start. The kids are a little bit older. We want to do Christmas morning at our house.
Yeah.
We're just going to be here. So this will actually be my 11th Christmas at First Baptist Arlington and my first Christmas Eve.
Here we go.
So
Wow.
come find me. We can get a selfie or
Here we go.
whatever. Like,
If you find like a first Christmas thing that you would put in like a picture
Katie's
with a
first
baby,
Christmas?
Yeah.
I will give you $1. This is for the first person who does it. This is not for everyone who
Katie's
does it.
first Christmas.
Katie's
The first
First
person who does this brings a Katie's first Christmas sign
Here we
like
go.
it and takes a picture of
my
her with
first
it.
Christmas,
I'll give you $1.
I'll be 40 years old. I'll have worked here 10 and a half years, and I will
Wow.
experience it at First Baptist Arlington for the first time. I've always
you go.
streamed it.
With
I've
real
always,
fire.
I've always tried to be a part of it, but
Lucky you that your first one was with real fire, though.
Also, props to my family because we told them all, hey, it's new this year. We just need to be here. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Anyone can be here with us, but this is what we're doing. And everyone was like, oh, that totally makes sense. Thank
Family.
you.
So good.
Sometimes family's so good.
Yeah.
That was a real win.
There you go.
Because you don't know how that's going to go over.
There you
so,
go.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I
Okay,
like
so
it.
Christmas
Okay.
Eve, and then on the 28th, we have
Ooh, one
one
big
service,
service.
no Bible study.
No
the
coffee.
service is at
10.
10.
Because it's
you go.
neither contemporary or traditional.
That's right. It's just one service.
It's just one family, church family service. There'll still be childcare. That normal, if your kid normally goes to child worship care,
Right.
during worship, we'll have that.
Right.
But otherwise, there's no kids programming. There's no. We're just all together worshiping together at 10.
Bring your
And
own
then-
coffee. There will be no coffee.
There'll be no coffee. Moment of silence.
Wow.
That was a moment of silence. I know.
But I'm happy that we can let our kitchen staff have that day.
Yes, that's
that's
the
right.
point. It's just it's a little bit
They
of
will,
a.
they will have been through an incredibly busy season.
They will have earned a little bit of
Yeah,
a reprieve.
yeah.
So
And then we'll come back in the new year with just
There we go.
a lot of flourishing fervor.
Excited about
Speaking of flourishing, do y'all have a call today?
Whoa, we want to talk about it?
it. We do. We are meeting with our Harvard research team today.
Kate Long and company are Zooming with us. They have compiled our survey, our individual church survey. Do you know how many people took that survey? Luke, take a guess. I know we talked about it broadly, but we have a real
It
number.
was around 1,200,
It's like 1,287.
which is wild.
Almost 1,300 people.
So good, y'all.
1,287 of our people that you know, our First Baptist Arlington people that you know and live life with, willingly
Amazing.
did a thing together.
Amazing.
That's amazing. And
pretty
so
incredible,
we've
really.
actually seen the results. They sent them
We
to
have.
us last night. And so
We had a meeting this morning.
We looked over them. But we're going to meet
So-
with them this afternoon to kind of get their sense of what data is interesting. You can read it a lot of different ways. You know that.
Well, I can't wait to hear more about it.
I think everybody's very anxious to see what becomes of it. So
Yeah.
the first read is very encouraging. Our
Okay.
people, there are obviously things we need to work on.
Yep.
Everybody knows that, but
For sure.
I think we have a good, steady, faithful people.
I love that.
Didn't need a survey to tell us that, but
I
here
did
we go.
not.
So,
But
okay.
20 minutes in, we should probably
There was a sermon,
talk about the sermon.
yesterday.
This past Sunday?
And
Did you preach?
I
and
did my best. I mean, after Cindy been preached, I felt like
you're
I
like,
needed
what's
to do
left,
something.
right? What's left? Good thing
I
we're
need to- I
turning
need
the
to
page
rebuttal,
on
yeah.
series. Don't try to preach on mission. Let's
Exactly
let's try, let's try the King.
on
So
the-
okay, Advent. the theme is this kingship of Jesus.
The King.
King Jesus.
From Matthew's gospel, there's, as I shared Sunday morning, there are numerous ways to read Matthew's gospel. It's a big document. It's 28 pages or chapters, and Matthew is a little bit interesting to me in how he shares the story of Jesus, because sometimes he adopts a chronological approach. So there's a general chronological scheme of Matthew's gospel, obviously from the birth of Jesus to the resurrection and commissioning of the church. But along the way, there are times when he seems to share the story more thematically than he does chronologically, which was okay, certainly back in those days. But because it's so massive and contains so much teaching material from Jesus, preaching material, it's a little hard to get your hands around it, you know. And so there are some scholars who say you should do it just do it really simply, and just start off with the person of the Messiah, the proclamation of the Messiah, the passion of the Messiah, and just use those broad categories.
Okay. Person, proclamation, passion.
And then the passion. And so, which I kind of like the simplicity of that in some ways, but I don't think that really captures what Matthew intended to communicate.
Too oversimplistic, you think?
I think it is. I like it, but I think that it's probably a tad simplified. Some scholars take the 5 discourses of Matthew's gospel, and basically you just read through the lens of narrative material and then the didactic material from Jesus. I think that's a legitimate way to look at Matthew's gospel, because I do think Matthew, the reason Matthew's the first gospel is because of the Jewishness of the gospel and the fact that
not necessarily the first written, but they wanted it being
placed first in the New Testament, because it's the bridge from the Old Covenant to the New Covenant. And so, Matthew's he is a Jew, and so he's very familiar with the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah. And so you could say, even though the 5 discourses of Jesus in Matthew's gospel don't necessarily coincide per se with the first 5 books of the Bible, but the symbolism, I think, is very poignant. I just don't think you need to miss it. And so some scholars would say, well, that's the best way to read Matthew's gospel. Look at what he's teaching. I kind of like that view, because I think at the end of the gospel you get this statement from Jesus, go make disciples, and the 5 discourses describe the disciples of the new covenant. And so I think that makes sense. Some scholars say, well, one of the ways to read Matthew's gospel is to read it through the lens of Isaiah, because there are 10 direct quotations from Isaiah in Matthew's gospel, and then numerous allusions to Isaiah. And they're somewhat distinct, the way Matthew chooses to share the story and the connection between Jesus and the book of Isaiah. Somewhat unique to Matthew, actually.
You spent some time on that yesterday.
So
Isaiah several times.
So I think that's one way to look at it. So that's why I actually like the latter 2 very well. I probably lean into the 5 discourses perspective. But I do think the connection to the book of Isaiah is just hard to miss when you read Matthew. And so that's why I wanted us to start the Advent season with a message from Isaiah that Matthew alludes to, because I do think it requires explanation. Since we've been reading Matthew's gospel all year long, I taught through it on Wednesdays. It's kind of been underneath everything that we've done. And then this Advent season, the next 4 sermons are going to be from Matthew. At the heart of the proclamation of Matthew's story is that Jesus is king. And so most every scholar agrees with that, regardless of how you divide it or, the lens that you use to focus through your interpretation. There's no question he's presenting Jesus as king. And so we're going to look at the kingship of Jesus over these next 4 weeks, kind of the next 3 Sundays of Advent proper, but then that last Sunday, we're going to finish it up in the last Sunday of the year. And I love Matthew's take. As I said, he has somewhat of even though Matthew, Mark, and Luke have a lot of similarity, each one of those men has a unique perspective on Jesus. Like you read Mark, and if you have a red letter edition of the New Testament, there's hardly any red ink.
There's not a lot of red there.
Yeah, it's just Mark is quick. I think the Greek word euthus, the immediately, it's 39 times in Mark. And so it's just, you just move from one thing to the next.
Jesus is on the move.
He is. And that's why a lot of times on the mission field, we have used Mark as the first gospel that we translate, because it just takes the whole life and ministry of Jesus pretty quickly for someone who's brand new to this story. But still, they're all very different, though, Matthew, Mark, and Luke are. And I have a great appreciation for Matthew. I've always loved Matthew. Y'all know I love Luke. I appreciate Luke's perspective historically.
You'll never get too far away from Luke. Luke acts.
That's right. But Matthew, to me, is just so informative to us. And and one of the statements in Matthew's gospel is in Matthew 2, when you've got this powerful story of Jesus as a baby being in peril. His life is in peril. Because, Joseph and Mary have no way to defend Jesus. It's not like they have no connections. They're in Bethlehem as guests. And so it's not like they have some kind of, they're going to appeal to the mayor of Bethlehem, so to speak. They don't have that. And so when King Herod decides he's going to slaughter the infants to make sure that he gets rid of whoever this proposed king is, well, Joseph has no recourse, and so he's warned by God. And so the flight to Egypt, Matthew tells that story,
right?
Which is, again, a fascinating story from an imagery perspective, because there was a time when the family of Jacob was in peril, and the scripture tells the story of their flight to Egypt, to where they find respite there and their family is able to survive. And then at some point, an angel delivers Israel from Egypt, and they return to the promised land. Well, you get that story in miniature with Jesus, and Matthew tells it. An angel in a vision tells Joseph it's okay to go home. He's a little nervous about Herod's family. And so they head back eventually to Nazareth. And then Matthew says this little somewhat of an offhanded comment, just as the prophet said he would be called a Nazarene. Well, the challenge with that is we can't find in the Old Testament a prophet who directly says that. And so that's led, as you might imagine, scholars to be a little puzzled. But the answer is actually found in Isaiah. So I tried to point that out yesterday, that in Isaiah 11, the text we read, you have these images painted by Isaiah in this poem of the expected one, the promised one. And he refers to him, he gives you this powerful picture, if you will, of God's judgment, where God judges Judah. Isaiah was a prophet in Judah. We talked about that yesterday morning in the sermon. Israel had divided into two nations, Israel and Judah, and he was in the south. And so the king that he served was of the line of David. The king in the north eventually is going to be completely conquered, and they're going to be distributed and dissolved really as a nation. But the kingdom of Judah is going to survive, and that's Isaiah's world. And so Isaiah is giving counsel to one of the kings who is in the line of David. But God has judged them, and he's going to continue to judge them. And God has judged Israel. He's going to judge Assyria, who had conquered Israel. And he's going to ultimately judge, Judah. And so Isaiah paints a picture of the forest being completely destroyed. And he says, God has just leveled it, and all that's left are stumps. And so even the mighty, the elms and the cedars of Lebanon and all that, God's judgment on Assyria, God's judgment on Judah, Israel, it's these mighty forests have been torn down, and all that are left now are these stumps. And so you get to Isaiah 11, and Isaiah 11, he says, but wait, I see a shoot emerging out of one of those stumps.
Powerful.
So there's life it's hidden right now, but because if you were looking for life and all of a sudden you walk up on where a forest used to be and all you see are stumps.
Not a lot of hope there.
That's right.
Unless you see
a shoot.
Yeah.
And then he says a branch, different word.
Different imagery, really.
Different imagery,
right?
Stehr in Hebrew, of Jesse, not of David, which is a fascinating way to put it, because at that time in history, you would have been hoping for somebody
Yeah.
who would be a son of David. Because
They wanted a king like that.
so when Jesus goes into Jerusalem on Palm Sunday, they don't say, son of Jesse. That's not what they ask for.
That's not good enough.
No, it's son of David. But
Nope.
but Isaiah says he's going to be a branch of Jesse, which is fascinating, which to me is a message about humility that God is saying, I'm going to raise up another David, in other words, from this particular branch, if you will. And so then years later, if you fast forward 700 years and the Assyrians have been destroyed and conquered, and the Babylonians, the Persians have lost their grip on that part of the world, and the Greeks, have taken over the world, then eventually the Romans are in power.
Right.
But evidently some of the descendants of David in the exile, when they come back home from the exile, they settle this little community in northern Israel, and they name it Stehr, branch, Nazareth. And so best we can tell, at least the research I've done, there was only around 500 people or so who lived there in the first century. And so it's interesting, though, that Joseph was from that line, that shoot, or that branch, if you will, of Jesse, as was Mary. In fact, when the text says in Luke's gospel that Caesar Augustus declared everybody needed to be counted, but you had to go to your home, you had to go to where your roots were, your family was. And it says Joseph had to go to Bethlehem because he was of the house and lineage of David. Mm-hmm. And so you've got these families in Nazareth who've helped settle the city, evidently from the line of David. And so Jesus then ultimately is going to grow up in Nazareth, the branch, and that's the connection we believe, at least that's what most scholars believe, between the Matthew's comment in Matthew 2 that Jesus would be called a Nazarene. And so even though it's more of an allusion to Isaiah's prophecy, Matthew saw it as a fulfillment. But what to me is just, and I love that, but what's just as fascinating is, so when you read the story that way and just look at the branch of Jesse, as I shared in the sermon yesterday, when Samuel came to Jesse and looked for his sons, and Jesse, parades his sons, and a very proud dad,
Yeah, here
and
they
Samuel
are. Pick your best.
looks at them all and goes, no. Is there
What
anybody
now?
else? And Jesse's like, well, I have one other son. He's a little, he's the young son,
doesn't
but he's
count.
not. I mean,
He's a young sunburned kid.
yeah, he's in the sheep pen. I mean, and Samuel says, well, we'll go get him, and he comes out and Samuel's like, God says, this is the one. Well, and so when you read Isaiah 11, guess what? Jesse has another son, turns out. There's another one. And it is connected to David, but not called David yet. He's not called a son of David yet because he's going to be born in humility. He's, it's just like David was. I mean, nobody knew Jesse, really before his son became so famous. But then what's interesting is you get to verse 10 in Isaiah 11, and Isaiah says, actually, it's the root of Jesse that's going to be the banner for the nations. Well, now that's a whole nother conversation. There's a big difference between a root and a branch.
Right.
So the very root from which Jesse himself sprang is where the real life is. And so to me, that you trace all the way back to the Garden of Eden. That's why, and that's what I wanted to help the church see Sunday morning. When you celebrate Christmas, Christmas didn't originate in Bethlehem that night when Jesus was born. Christmas started in the heart of God and was manifested on earth in the Garden of Eden. When God said to the woman, your seed is going to crush the head of the serpent's seed. The serpent's seed will bruise his heel, but he'll crush the head. And so that seed, if you will, planted in the human story takes root in the story of Jesse. And so it's actually from the root of Jesse that we're going to receive the gift, the Messiah. So this story is woven all the way through.
So don't think it just got kind of dreamt up one day.
No, and Matthew is doing so much work in those first couple of chapters.
Think about that.
It's ridiculous.
He's laying the groundwork.
Yeah, you think about that. the genealogy goes back to Abraham. So he's trying to show you this is the fulfillment of the covenant.
Exactly.
He goes
He
to
mentions
Egypt.
Jesse.
Yeah, he mentions Jesse. So Matthew wants you to see this is the new and greater David.
And calls David King David.
Yes.
So,
Exactly.
Don't
the
miss it.
kingship is there. He wants you to see that Jesus is the new and better Moses.
Exactly.
That's part of the Egyptian connection.
Yes.
Is
Which
also
is,
that.
Yeah, if you're paying attention, it's actually beautiful.
Matthew's doing a lot.
Yes, it's beautiful. And I just love that, and that Isaiah, and it's interesting. I've just spent all summer studying Isaiah along with a colleague at Truett Seminary, getting ready to teach this seminar on Isaiah. And so I wrote her when I was in my study. I think it was Tuesday. I can't remember. And I wrote Rebecca Poe Hayes, who's a Hebrew professor at Truett, and she and I did this cohort together at Baylor. And I just told her, I said, hey, just want you to know I'm sitting here reading Isaiah and thanking God for you and your scholarship and just the way that you helped me shape some of my understanding of Isaiah. And it's going to have application in my church on Sunday. And the Lord just weaves those threads together as we've talked about. And but I love that. I love that you had, and so even Paul in Romans 15, Paul goes back and talks about this branch of Jesse. And then you go to the end of the Bible, and Jesus has now been resurrected from the dead. He's been ascended now to the Father. He's enthroned in glory. And now Jesus says, I'm the branch of David now. He skips over Jesse now because he's king. He's done his work on this earth, and he has accomplished what God sent him to do. And that's how the book of Revelation ends, with this declaration from Jesus that he really is the fulfillment of Isaiah's prophecy. And then he says, I'm coming. And then John's like, well, even so, come Lord Jesus. So when I was studying and getting ready for all this back in the summer, just praying over it all, I kept singing this hymn, Come Thou Long Expected Jesus, in my head. I just couldn't get away from it. And so that's why I titled the sermon that Sunday morning, because when you read the first stanza of Come Thou Long Expected Jesus, to me, Charles Wesley was communicating the first advent of Jesus. And somebody asked him, where does this come from? And in Haggai 2, there's a statement about the desire of all the nations. And that's woven into his stanza of this beautiful hymn. But the second stanza of the hymn, to me, is as much about the second advent of Jesus as is the first. And so I love the fact that he captured Isaiah 11, because Isaiah, as God gifted Isaiah to look at the horizon of history and just see that there was a day coming when these stumps, one of them is going to come to life, and there's going to be this great fulfillment. This line of David, is actually going to emerge once again. But then it's like he even looks past that, and he says, "Well, actually, the day what's really coming is the day when, you're gonna let your little infant sit at the cobra's den, and he can put his hand in the viper's mouth, because the viper's not going to bite him, because all this is going to be renewed and restored, and it's going to be what it originally was designed to be in the first place." And so you get the second advent of Jesus.
Yeah.
And so I think Wesley captures that in that second stanza of that beautiful Christmas carol. And that kind of led me down a rabbit hole of just reacquainting myself with the Wesley brothers. I'm much more connected to John Wesley, just theologically, because I have his journals. You read the devotionals of John Wesley, and he's one of my heroes. I love John Wesley. But Charles wasn't bad. I just haven't done as much research.
Not a slouch.
Charles.
Charles was.
Yeah, Charles was interesting because he was a poet, and John said that about him. He said, and he was a preacher too. Charles Wesley was a preacher, but he grew a little bit. They came to the U.S., went to Savannah. If y'all have ever been to Savannah, they have the statue of John Wesley.
I texted you the picture. What Kelsey and I were on a trip.
So, which is pretty awesome.
I've never been to Savannah.
Do it.
But they weren't received very well, to be honest with you, in the U.S. It was not. Charles was pretty disappointed. However, on the trip home, it's the whole influence of the Moravian Brethren both of them in their journals talk about finding their hearts strangely warmed, and so both of those men experienced some kind of, I don't know what you want to call it, conversion. That might not be the right word.
Found their hearts strangely warmed.
Yeah, something happened to them. Both
Spiritual
of them.
renewal.
Yes, and so when they get back to England, Charles Wesley just comes alive as a poet, and just when you read his story, how the scripture would speak to him, John Wesley would hear the scripture and preach these fiery sermons, and Charles Wesley would read the scripture and write this beautiful poetry.
Yeah.
And
funny that you identify more with, the fiery sermon guy.
I know, it's interesting.
But I mean, truthfully, if you're out there in the pew and we're singing a hymn and you don't know who wrote it, and you had to guess, just guess Charles Wesley.
Yeah, because there's so many that he just wrote.
So many.
4,500 hymns published in his lifetime. Another 3,000 that haven't actually been published.
You're shaped by him even if you don't know it. Even if you've never heard his name.
Sing, 4,000 tongues to sing, or Jesus, lover of my soul, or hark the herald angels sing, or Christ the Lord is risen today.
We could keep going.
Yeah.
I mean, come on.
And the other thing, since we live in Texas, if you hear us talk about the Moravians, they're this missionary group that comes out of Eastern Europe, what's now the Czech Republic.
That's right.
If you think about Texas immigration patterns, Central Texas is full of Czechs. The Church of the Brethren is the direct descendant of the Moravian church that influenced the Wesleys.
Yes. And warm-hearted, evangelistic, zealous followers of Jesus, and they connect with John Wesley and Charles Wesley and ignite a fire in them. And those boys go back home, and they're separatists, so they had separated from the Church of England, even though Charles Wesley never actually did that. He was in that movement because the people that stayed in the church were called Puritans. They wanted to purify, but the separatists, felt like we needed to do something different. But Charles Wesley, he considered himself an Anglican until he died, even though he was a part of the Methods.
Yeah, they kicked him out because they thought he was too pious.
Yeah, so yes,
too excited about Jesus.
That's right.
Get out of here.
Right.
How dare you?
But what a great man he was. And so I was that hymn. So I'm sitting in my study and I just can't get that hymn out of my brain. So I have a hymnal in my study. So that I actually sing from when nobody's there.
Oh, we love this.
I just sing.
We love this.
Me and God. And so sometimes I sing silently, not out loud. But what's weird about that is it sounds the same in my head as when I do it out loud. You'd think if I could do it in my head, I could sing.
You'd hit the notes.
Oh yeah, perfect. But since I don't know how to do that, it
in real life
it doesn't work.
Yeah, how about that?
Anyway,
That's why you're with John and not Charles.
But so then the next thing I'm just flipping through that hymnal, just singing all of Charles Wesley's hymns, and just kind of got caught up in all of that. And so
love it.
But
we love it.
It was, and so in both services Sunday morning, we sang the full hymn in the first service, but we sang both services the invitational hymn. We sang
is that going to be
stanza and,
all month long?
No, it's just I just was so captured by it for this first service that it was just powerful to me, and it's a beautiful text, and I'm just grateful that we can still say, just like in Wesley's mind, ever since the writings of Isaiah, Haggai, these prophets, they're expecting someone. Of course, he's on this side of the cross, so he knows it's Jesus. But I think his message to us is we're still singing that as Christians. Come thou long expected Jesus the second time. So it all fit together in my mind.
Beautiful.
So I did the best I could to put it in front of the church, but it helped me launch Advent for myself, I would say.
Great.
So
which is beautiful.
Awesome. Yeah.
Well, we've got an exciting few weeks ahead.
We do.
We really do.
This coming Sunday, Charles Spurgeon inspired me for the sermon I'm going to preach Sunday. Another British preacher.
Right.
Spurgeon preached this famous sermon on just how Jesus was born a king, was never a prince.
Preach it. Preach it.
And when I read that
Think
line from one of his devotionals, I thought,
think on that.
Let's roll.
I love that. So that's the topic for this coming Sunday.
Our producer, Kyle, has let me know that next week is our 175th episode.
What?
So
For
just
real?
come ready to party. How's that?
Yeah, I
Okay.
think we should.
We'll have some fun.
Yeah.
We will.
We've never had fun here before.
No, we'll try it next week. See how it
I'll
fits.
bring the confetti. Okay.
Will you?
Do you still have your crown? Your tiara?
Do you want me to wear it?
Oh, yeah, you should.
All right. Heard it here. See you then.
Awesome.
See you next
Bye,
week.
y'all. Thanks for listening to the Tell Me More podcast today. You can subscribe to this podcast on your app of choice, or you can visit us at fbca.org to find out more information about the podcast and our church. Thanks for listening. Have a good day.